The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, written by Washington Irving and adapted especially for young adventurers. Good evening, friends. This evening I'd like to share a story with you that I heard a long time ago. It all happened in a quiet valley near the Hudson River, in a small town called Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow is a peaceful place, surrounded by forests and rolling hills and winding streams. But there's something mysterious about Sleepy Hollow, too. People there, they believe in ghosts and strange occurrences, strange happenings. They often hear voices in the woods, see strange lights, and they love to share spooky tales around their fires at night. The most famous ghost in Sleepy Hollow is, of course, the headless horseman. The headless horseman, as all of you know, is Wait, what's that? Oh, you've never heard of the headless horseman. Well, that will not do, but it's easily fixed. You see, I know all about the headless horseman, and I don't mind sharing the story with you. They say that the headless horseman was a soldier in the Revolutionary War who lost his head during a battle. And every night he rides through the valley on a black horse, searching for his lost head. He's most often seen near the church where he was buried, and he vanishes at the bridge that crosses the dark stream nearby. Now, in this strange little town, there also lived a schoolteacher named Ichabod Crane. He was very tall and skinny, with long arms and legs, a narrow head, and big ears. He looked a bit like a scarecrow come to life, to be honest with you. He was smart, and he taught in the one-room schoolhouse nearby. He could also sing, and because of this talent, he led the choir at church. He was unlike any other young man in the valley, which made him very popular with the ladies. Ichabod didn't have a lot of money, and he didn't receive a large check to teach the local children, so he stayed with the families of his students, each week with a different family, eating at their homes and sleeping in their spare rooms. He especially liked visiting homes with good cooking because Ichabod loved to eat. He also had a big imagination and enjoyed reading books about magic and witches and ghosts, stories that made him even more nervous when he walked alone at night in the valley. One day, Ichabod saw Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of the wealthiest farmer in Sleepy Hollow. She was young, beautiful, charming. Ichabod dreamed of marrying her, not just because he liked her and because he thought she was pretty, but because her family had a big, beautiful farm and lots of land. He imagined himself living there in comfort, never having to work again. But Ichabod wasn't the only one who wanted to marry Katrina. A strong, handsome, bold man named Brom Van Brunt, known as Brom Bones, also liked her. Brom was known for his strength, his great horse riding skills, and he loved playing practical jokes. He was pretty much the exact opposite of Ichabod. And he often tried to make Ichabod look foolish with jokes and tricks, but Ichabod kept visiting Katrina, hoping to win her heart with his brains and his charm. One crisp autumn day, Ichabod received an invitation to a big party at the Van Tassel farm. He wore his best suit and borrowed an old horse named Gunpowder, who was slow and bony, but good enough for the trip. When he arrived, the farm was full of music and laughter and delicious food. Everyone danced and told stories, and Brom Bones was there too, watching Katrina and Ichabod carefully. At the end of the party, Ichabod tried to talk to Katrina alone. No one knows exactly what she said, but according to the local ladies, Ichabod looked mighty disappointed and embarrassed as he left the house. Maybe Katrina had teased him, or maybe she had told Ichabod that she had chosen Brom. But whatever happened, Ichabod was very sad feeling heartbroken when he rode off into the night on gunpowder. The moon was out, and the woods were full of dark shadows, and all the ghost stories from the party started to play in Ichabod's mind. As he rode through the darkest part of the forest near the church, he suddenly saw a tall figure on a horse. He could see that the figure was dressed all in black, and it was almost as if, he had no head. Ichabod was terrified. He kicked Gunpowder into a gallop. He had to outrun the ghost. The rider chased after him silently, getting closer and closer. And Ichabod remembered that the headless horseman always vanishes at the church bridge. If only he could make it there, he could be safe. Ichabod raced across the bridge and turned around, hoping the ghost would disappear. But instead, the horseman stood up in his stirrups and threw something at Ichabod's head. It looked like a pumpkin. Crack! Ichabod tumbled off of his horse and disappeared into the night. The next morning, Gunpowder returned home without his rider. Now, the local townspeople searched for Ichabod, but they only found his hat lying next to a smashed pumpkin near the bridge. Ichabod was never seen in Sleepy Hollow again. Now, some people believe that the headless horseman took Ichabod away. Others think he ran away, embarrassed by Katrina and scared out of his wits. You see, Brom Bones married Katrina not long after the disappearance. And whenever someone mentions Ichabod, Brom just smiles. A little too knowingly, if you ask me. To this day, the people of Sleepy Hollow still tell the tale of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman. And on dark, windy nights, if you're near the old church bridge, you might just hear the sound of hooves pounding the ground and see a rider with no head galloping by, searching still for what he lost long ago. This story was told to you almost exactly the way that I heard it during a meeting in the old city of New York. Many important and respected gentlemen were there. The storyteller was a friendly but shabby old man, wearing a salt and pepper colored suit. He had a sad but humorous face, and I got the feeling that he was very poor. When he finished the story, most of the room laughed and clapped, especially a few deputy aldermen who had actually slept through most of it. But there was one tall, serious-looking old man who stayed quiet. He had thick eyebrows and a stern expression. Every now and then he'd fold his arms, nod his head, and look down like he was thinking very hard. He was the kind of man who only laughs if something is legally and logically sound. Well, after the laughter died down, this old man leaned on his chair, stuck one arm on his hip, and asked seriously, "So what exactly is the point of this story? What lesson does it teach?" The storyteller, who was about to sip something to drink to reward himself for a job well done, paused, lowered his glass, and said respectfully, "This story proves that every part of life has its good sides if you can laugh at it. That if you race against ghosts, you're bound to have a wild ride, and that getting turned down by a rich Dutch girl might just be the first successful step to public life." The serious man frowned even more. I thought I saw the storyteller give him a sneaky little smile. Finally, the serious man said, "Well, sir, it was amusing, but honestly, the story seems a bit far-fetched. I still have my doubts about some parts." To which the storyteller replied, "Honestly, sir, I don't believe half of it myself." Good night, friends.